My name is Lolo Puzzlo, and this is Media Delta. Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Media Delta. This episode, usually we cover, stuff that is at least has a little bit of a connection to video games, either stuff that is either based on things we've played or, is like a TV show or movie that is based on a game, or like one that had a game based on it. So for quarter two of the Retro Rank Relief Drive, we had a goal that was, if we hit $150, that we would do an episode based on a, let's call it, unique movie. And the one that was the one that we are doing an episode on now, is the 2019 movie Uncut Gems, that was directed by the Safdie brothers and notably stars Adam Sandler. This was a very highly critically acclaimed movie. I think I saw on Metacritic it was like, I think it had one middling review in like near universal critical praise. And has been described by the reason that we're taking a look at this specific movie, is that everyone that I've heard describe this movie has described it as a 2-hour-long anxiety attack. So I thought it would be fun to, as a charity incentive, to watch this movie. And that's what we did. So I don't even know where to start with this one. Basically, to give a very brief overview of what this movie is, Adam Sandler is basically he is a jeweler, particularly for very wealthy clients, named Howard Ratner, and he makes a series of very bad choices. And that is a very brief overview of the movie. That's pretty much what it is. But obviously, things happen along the way. So I was not the only one who watched this, so please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Max, and I'm here for a series of avoidable circumstances and events.
I am, of course, Deathmaster780. That's it.
I'm Torpidtypus, and I'm here to watch a man fucking slowly set up his own demise.
Yes. So this one was an interesting watch. Namely because I feel like right out of the gate, one thing that we say was like, obviously the description of this movie, you just hear it as like, oh, this thing is a like 2-hour long like set of like just feeling incredibly uncomfortable. And one thing that I feel like we all could agree on is that is an accurate statement.
It is a movie that the second it starts, you know exactly how it's going to fucking end.
Uh-huh.
I even actually managed to accidentally call the ending in a fit of rage.
Yeah, so we're gonna do things a little bit differently this time, because this is an interesting scenario in multiple different ways. One, this is a relatively recent movie, so one thing I'm going to I'm going to set a thing real quick, is that I kind of want to do this in two phases. One in which we just talk about the movie in general, and then a second part where we talk about spoilers, because this is a pretty recent movie, and I feel like spoiling some of it kind of ruins some of the thing of just watching this like blind. So I'm going to say at some point, but not until we'll kind of at least have a general discussion, that we just kind of avoid spoilers. But then after a certain point, all bets are off. Also a thing that we have not had in-depth discussion about it, but one thing that I have noticed is that we have had divisive opinions about movies before. I feel like this is probably one of the most divisive we have been in our early discussions on this movie. So I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I don't ask for numbers until the very end when we're actually putting it on the board. However, I'd like to do an exercise now, and that is, you're all like familiar with the rankings. So, what I would like from all of you, just to kind of, because I'm curious, before we have any like in-depth discussion, could all three of you DM me what your
I knew
number
this
would
is where
be?
you were going. It is
Oh,
beautiful.
God.
Let me look at the list again. I need to make sure of the list because that is. Let's see.
You can't be surprised by mine.
No, yours
Nope.
is pretty
That's
much.
what the
given.
accent. Yep,
Oh.
that's why I'm doing this.
You know what? I think I know where I'll put it, because
Uh,
it's a level of another movie on the list that I think you can see
'Cause
why
I have
put
mine
that
written
one.
down.
I
Let's
think
see.
you can see why I put mine.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay, that's where I thought. Okay. Good to know for when we eventually rank this. Yeah. So one thing that we're also going to do is because I feel like we should. I don't even know if I should really do a preamble or not. I think we should just kind of get into the discussion. And we are. I'm going to do this slightly different because I know this was brought up last time that we did an episode and also I feel is a good way of doing this. We're not going to go Well, we're going to kind of go alphabetical. We're going to go in reverse alphabetical this time. But then
Oh,
again, there's
man.
really only three of us. So
I feel fucking special.
Finally,
yeah.
Corbin gets to go first.
Yeah, so Torpo, you get to go first this time. What are your thoughts on Uncut Gems?
Thankfully, I'm going first because I'm less angry about this movie. I will say I understand the distaste among other people in the group because this boils down heavily to taste. Because this is a movie about a bad man doing bad things repeatedly, fucking himself over constantly, right to the very end. This is a movie where you know exactly how it's going to end the second it fucking starts, in no uncertain terms.
And yeah, that is the case, but it's like, you know that he's going to do something stupid and get himself in trouble. You just don't know how. And that's just
boy,
like,
fucking howdy does he. This is a man who is an expert at digging fucking holes because literally everything that goes wrong in this man's life, Mr. Rat, everything that goes wrong in his life is directly his own fault. Throughout the entire movie, everything that goes wrong is his own fault and nobody else's. There are many points where he could have just pulled out and lived a fine life, but his own vices got the better of him. His greed, his jealousy, his hate, all of them. And it never stops.
I do want to point out that it's something that I think we all kind of pointed out when this movie starts. This movie starts out with a scene of, I don't mind spoiling this because it's also something that you might want to know if this is something that would bother you. It starts out in a Ethiopian, basically an opal mine. It starts out with a really bad accident where someone just gets, leg is just
maimed.
Yeah. And during the case, there are some people go in and basically, I don't know what the term technically for it is, but basically smuggle a gem out of this mine. And then you go and see through the thing. And then you see Adam Sandler's character get a colonoscopy. And that is the most sedate part of this movie, which is saying something.
No, it's really good that it opens up. So first off, Adam Sandler is perfect for this role. Apparently, he's actually really good at playing fucking sleaze.
It's actually kind of funny because I was actually looking into it. The more you kind of realize about Adam Sandler himself, you kind of realize that this is basically a perfect role for him. Because one thing that I do want to point out, just to make sure that we get it out there, because the Safdie brothers are a relatively new pair of directors. They have had some stuff beforehand. They have done, I think, their other big hit was a movie called Good Time, that came out in 2017. That starred Robert Pattinson. That apparently, so they are both from New York, and they're both Jewish, which is why Judaism plays such a heavy part in this movie. Also, they're apparently big basketball fans, which is why basketball plays a huge part in this movie too. But if you kind of remember that Adam Sandler, like, one of his things is that I believe he grew up in New York and he is actually Jewish.
Yep.
Which if you are familiar with like early '90s Sandler, that is not something that is also
Yeah,
like
he
eight
had
crazy
entire-
nights.
It's not
Not
a
just
well
Eight Crazy Nights. He
secret.
had entire fucking comedy bits about
Yes.
it. Like
Yeah. Hanukkah
it
song.
was. It's no secret. The man was very openly.
But yes, and this movie is actually based off of the Safdie brothers. Their dad, I believe, was a jeweler in the same place that like this movie takes place in.
But yeah, so the movie obviously starts with the colonoscopy, the maiming. Well, the maiming, then the colonoscopy. And Lolo is right, but it also sets a tone for the movie, which is this is the man who is incredibly high strung and will never stop being high strung because the entire point he went there is because he was worried about polyps in his colon. And somehow that is the least. That is the least. Like, that's the most low key part of the fucking movie. Because this man is incredibly stressed out at all times between his job, his debt, oh boy, his debt, in his family that is falling apart. Just no aspect of this man's life is going right, and it is from the get-go all his fault. The man cannot stop his own vices. He cannot stop gambling. He cannot stop cheating on his wife. And he just cannot stop this fucking debt he has because he cannot keep any money because he's gambling it all away. And it just doesn't fucking stop. And so right away in the movie, he is getting harassed by the loan shark's goon. Not even the loan shark, but the person he owes the money to, his goons, in his own fucking store and being mistreated. And it starts right away with constant yelling, which is a thing that never stops in the movie. Everybody is always fucking yelling, always swearing, and it never fucking stops. It's beautiful. It is we looked it up, and it is the fourth highest number of fucks in a script of any movie, just behind Wolf of Wall Street, which was like, what was it, an hour shorter? Not even.
It's an hour longer. So
an
the
hour
rate,
longer. Yeah, that was
it is the highest rate that is not a movie that is intentional, like a documentary that is intentionally productive.
Yeah, 1 and 2 were deliberately meant to be saying the word fuck a lot, but like Wolf of Wall Street, which is a solid hour longer than this, technically has more, but this had a higher rate because everybody is fucking talking at all times. In I know for some people that could be like a bit of sensory overload at that, but yeah, it's so he just immediately gets disrespected for the money he owes them. They fucking hit him in his office. He throws a fit, and it just kind of really sets the tone for how the rest of the movie goes, which is him juggling all of these things in his life, him trying to make money from his business, him in any fucking way he can, anyway, to pay back these debtors, but then he instead siphons all that money to his gambling. Basically, he thinks he can make more money and make it even bigger, and it's just over and over this cycle that leads to, well, the end.
Yeah.
Also, there's his cheating on his wife and his family falling apart because of it. But you know, that's whatever.
Yeah. And that you see within like the first 10 minutes too.
Yeah, no, it establishes that everything in this man's life is falling apart, and all of it is because of him.
Yep.
It's kind of what I would say about the movie before hitting like any sort of spoilers. Is just this man's life is miserable. He's miserable, and it's all his own fault.
All right, DM, what did you think?
I want to say first, they had so many fucks to give.
Oh dear Lord, did they?
Yes.
Yeah, I loved this. This was quite entertaining. This isn't the kind of movie that like bothers me, so like you guys were like cringing at this. I was just sitting there the whole time going,
Oh, I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. But
This
like I can
isn't the kind
understand
of-
why people wouldn't.
This isn't the kind of movie that makes me cringe.
No.
And I watch a lot of stuff with awful protagonists. So none of this is like bothering me, but I quite liked it. And it's funny just because like it's Adam Sandler playing an Adam Sandler character in a drama instead of a comedy, basically. It's not like it's that far off from what he usually does.
It kind of is just like a character that you could see like being played for laughs in like a like early like mid 90s Sandler movie. But no, it is definitely not played for laughs in this movie.
It's like Robin Williams doing a dramatic role, just playing himself, but it's not supposed to be funny.
I will say, I also, yeah, it's basically, you know, from the get go, it's a movie about a terrible person, and it's either you're in for that, or you're just not gonna like it. Because
Terrible person, and you find out
Fucking
just
awful.
how terrible he is the longer it goes on.
yeah, the movie is an intense downward spiral, and you have to be on board for that, or you're just gonna fucking hate it. Because there's no two ways about it. He's an awful person, and he is the protagonist, and there's not much to be done about it.
To be fair, there's not a lot of likable characters in this anyway.
No, everyone.
I don't think
everyone's
they're-
fucking terrible.
I think like the only likable character in this movie were like maybe the kids, because
No,
they
they
didn't
were
have a
kind of
whole lot. Of,
shits.
No,
They
the
kind
youngest
of-
one wasn't. He didn't
The
get any
youngest one
lines,
was
so-
okay, and actually, I can get behind the daughter hating the dad because boy, howdy,
Yeah.
he gave her a lot of reasons, but like the older son was fucking terrible.
Kevin Garnett was fine.
yeah,
I
Playing himself.
well,
disagree.
yeah, but that I think will be later on.
They had Kevin Garnett playing himself back when he was still playing, because this movie is, we didn't mention, piece in 2012.
Yep.
They also had The Weeknd playing himself.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was great. That was a whole bit, but yeah, no, it like for me it was a case of just like how much does this man fuck himself and like what is his fucking retribution for it? That's what this movie was for me, I guess.
That's it for me.
All right, X, what did you think about Uncut Gems?
Okay. Well.
As I look at the scores that I have written down.
Honestly, I hated this movie. I hated it from start to finish. Part of it is kind of my own fault because I didn't read anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew is the name and just it was like a crime thriller genre thing. So my dumb ass went into it thinking maybe this is going to be like Heat. I'd like to see Adam Sandler do something like Heat. Maybe he can actually do something good because I'm not a Sandler fan. And I don't agree with the comparison of Sandler going from comedy to drama and Robin Williams going from comedy to drama because Sandler is always Sandler. He can't turn it off. He acts and sounds like he does in his comedy films. Whereas I felt Robin Williams was able to sink into different roles and instead of being that wacky, crazy, goofy guy, could sit down and do a very solid scene. Best example is Insomnia.
Yeah, no, I actually agree on that one.
Yeah,
like,
that is yes.
like fucking Robin Williams had range.
Yeah, no, he had range. Sandler has no range. He like Dane Cook has more range than him. But coming back to the movie itself, it was nothing but an assault on my senses, particularly audio, because there aren't conversations in this movie. There are crosstalks in this movie.
Shouting matches.
Just like a basic conversation at the volume I'm at right now. So I'm talking now. Somebody else is talking over me, and they just talk back and forth over each other. But then there's a guy in the background who just said something, so we're going to acknowledge him and then go back to this conversation. It's so agonizing.
To be fair, actually, oh, really quick, I do feel like that lended a bit to Sandler's character, though, that he was basically always talking past people and
Well, it
just
wasn't-
ignoring anything they were saying.
Yeah, it wasn't just Sandler talking past people. He would try to start a conversation, and then somebody would talk over him, and then they'd just start talking over each other the whole time.
No, I'm saying I agree with you, but I'm saying I feel like at least in Sandler's case, it lent to the character, if nothing else.
That is true.
It did also, I will say that the fact that it is everyone talking over each other just lends a from a mechanical, like directorial thing, I feel like really it is something that I, from a technical standpoint, like about the movie. Actually, the fact that no one can have a conversation like in a way that like makes sense. I
Well,
guess you
because
could say it.
nobody's listening to anyone. That's kind of the thing, is
Yeah.
nobody listens to anyone at any point in that film. Everyone is at odds with each other.
Yes.
Literally everybody, anybody with a speaking role in this movie, it's like you said, everybody in this movie sucks. There isn't a likable person in this movie, which is another thing against it. Because if I'm gonna suffer for 2 fucking hours, at least give me somebody to entertain me. Because I'm not getting entertained by Adam goddamn Sandler, that's for sure. And yes, I know it's the whole point of the plot is it's a series of stupid decisions that leads to a very obvious ending. But it was still infuriating when on the third time he finally gets enough money to pay off his debt and he goes, "Now I'm going to throw it at gambling again." And it's just,
Yep.
come on, just stop. I hate it. It was agonizing. This movie felt like torture. It genuinely, like, I would honestly recommend this as a thing of torture, because God, I was so frazzled by the end of it because of just the nonstop talking, the terrible decisions. I thought the writing was bad. I thought the characters were bad. I thought the acting was bad. What else? Just it's weird because it's 2 hours long. Stuff happens, but it doesn't feel like anything actually happened. And it's such a weird state of being. But that's exactly how it felt. A lot happened, but nothing actually happened. That's starts with an E. Damn it, I knew this word. But
What are you trying to?
It's,
What kind of essence are you trying to think?
exacerbate. There we are.
Yes.
It's exacerbated by the crosstalk because the conversations are going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So meanwhile, any like actual action, any actual plot is kind of happening in the background with all these other things drowning it out. There is a plot. It has a start, it has a middle, it has a finish. But first of all, the plot ain't that interesting. Dude's in debt to $100,000 to his brother-in-law. And he wants to
spoil too much, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
no. I mean, anyway.
I mean, that's just the basics. I mean,
Yeah, the
it's like
basics. Yeah,
that
no,
is.
I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
I'm just warning. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean, so he's in debt to him, and the movie's about him trying to get out of debt. Now, like, that's not necessarily on its own a bad plot, but nothing in this movie holds it up. The acting doesn't do it any justice. The actual events that occur don't do it any justice. So it just becomes a very flat kind of plot. I know we talk about like it's mentioned, the movie's a guy who's constantly making bad decisions that comes back to hurt him. And honestly, I didn't like it. Now at the same time, I am a person who likes BoJack Horseman, and that might come off a bit hypocritical, but in BoJack Horseman, the character makes efforts, whether he succeeds or fails, to try and better himself, to try and get out of the cycle and the rut that he's in. Whereas in this movie, Sandler's character makes no effort. He is happy in this pit that he's in. It's almost like
point.
Hmm?
I said that's the point, though. This isn't a guy that's trying to save himself. This is a guy just riding the high of like all the bad shit he's doing.
Right, but I'm just trying to
trying to elaborate on the point that no, this is not like your standard, like, yeah, it's a bad person, but they're trying to work on themselves. There is no redemption in this.
Yeah, no, nobody has. And my point was more just trying to say, I can enjoy a story about a person who constantly fucks up, but for me, I need that person to at least have a glimmer of potential of learning from those situations, which you get in BoJack, what you don't get in Uncut Gems. So that's what I was trying to get across. but ultimately it's just not a good movie. There's like no, I can't talk about that. That's part of spoilers. I have so much to say, but I gotta wait for spoilers. So I think I'll cut my comments there so we can get to that portion.
All right. I will also say that this is one of those really weird cases where, whether or not I'd say that I enjoyed myself is, I will say that did I like feel good during the movie? Like, I'm not going to say like this was physically painful, but it absolutely was a movie that was very. It's something. This is definitely not a movie that you just put on the background. This is something that, one, you got to pay attention to, and two, it is a movie that is. It is. I don't really know a better way to say it. It is assaulting. Like, it is a movie that will like have an effect on you, or could potentially have an effect on you. I do, however, felt like I felt enriched by this movie. Like, I felt like I got something out of this movie. I did not feel like my time was wasted in any sense of the word. And it's such a weird thing because I kind of wanted to think about it a little bit, like what were my thoughts after, like especially after it's been a few days since I originally watched this. I just kind of wanted to, just muddle or like just let my feelings on this kind of just sit and just kind of see where they kind of went. And I do actually feel like it had to be the thing that I really kind of was more thinking of is like thinking, what was what was this movie trying to get out of it? Like, what was the kind of trying to think, I was like, what were they trying to get at with this movie? And I do feel like what this movie kind of set out to accomplish was, it is a movie that is very much like, yeah, like he makes all kind of bad decisions, but it also kind of illustrates a problem in which not only is it that Howard is making the worst kind of decisions, it is also kind of a story about what happens when you are not in a supportive environment. Because everyone else is garbage too, and at no point in this film does the word gambling addiction ever show up. No one ever thinks that he has like he has something that he has to deal with. Like, they just think, oh, that's kind of like, they're just like, oh, that's just what he does. No one just sits down and like gives him like, hey, I think you might have a problem. Here's someone that can help.
I'd also argue it's more than just that. It's also every time he's about to like come to any sort of realization or try to get out of where he is, he gets strong-armed back in by somebody else who won't listen either. I can't go into any examples really without spoiling too much, but like even regarding the gem right off the bat, nobody listens to him, even though he said what he wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And also, I could have sworn his ex-wife at one point just sort of side mentions that he has a gambling problem, but doesn't make any effort to do anything about it.
I think they might mention that he has a problem, but they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't care because she's trying to get divorced from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even said they were waiting, but yeah. Like that had been the thing that was planned from the get-go.
And yeah, I just kind of find it fascinating as a study of like, it's kind of like the way that I kind of see this movie is it's kind of it's almost like it's a Rube Goldberg machine. It's a movie where it's not necessarily like this movie has so much of a message, or if it has like, at least one that's not like, hey, like if you have like gambling problems, maybe seek help. But it's kind of just a movie that's about like letting the dominoes fall. And it's just kind of fascinating to just watch how just like it's the thing where it's like it's that meme picture with the gradually growing size of dominoes where it's just it's just the small one. It's like, oh, this thing, and then it just kind of escalates forward and just like how one other small bad decision just kind of causes this other one to kind of also like, you know, escalate. At least that was my feeling on it. I in general, I enjoyed myself with this movie.
I agree 100%, but yeah.
I feel it's kind of the as basic as we can get without going into in depth. So, if you are listening to this and you want to watch this movie, we are now at the point in which we are going to talk about spoilers. So, here's a warning for if you're listening to this, we're going to talk about spoilers now.
Spoilers.
So, I guess how we'll do this. Did anyone in particular have a thing they want to specifically talk about first? I feel like that'd probably be a good way to start it.
I have thoughts on the ending.
I feel like we should save that.
Yeah, let's. I'm trying to think. Is there any other like?
And I guess what I want to talk about is the fucking gem itself and how nobody lets him keep it.
Yeah, it's
because he makes the mistake of showing one person and they strong arm their way into keeping it, and then they fucking
No, go ahead.
And they basically essentially ghost him on it too, even though he told them he needed it back for a certain date because they thought it was a good luck charm. And his like fucking Adam Sandler's one in was also ignoring the shit out of him too because he wouldn't sell the fake watches that he gave him. And it's just this constant of everyone being given the runaround, but Adam Sandler especially.
And not just that, but like once he finally got it back, even then, like he doesn't get any rest because instead of it being valued at like a couple million, as he expected, as they originally said, they rescind that
appraisal.
Thank you, appraisal.
No, it was never appraised. That was the thing. Like
Yeah.
Adam Sandler was even like, "Oh shit, I should have gotten an appraiser."
He didn't get it appraised, and they sort of implied that Tilda Swinton's character lowballed him on the number because he took too long getting it to her, but like there's no real confirmation of that.
Yeah. So like even when he gets it back, there's nothing close to what he values. And it sucks too because like once again he gets I think like 200,000 or something like that for it.
No,
and
he has his dad specifically bid.
Oh right, yeah.
To increase the price of it, but then his dad accidentally gets the last bid at 200,000.
Right. So so even then, like he just can't seem to get things. I'm having a hard time remembering.
There's a lot that happens in this movie.
There is. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like anything actually happened, and it's so frustrating because this movie just sort of glides on through. No, not glides. What's a more apt? It crashes through. It's just clattering. It's a child banging a pot and shouting, "I am the greatest," and running through the room.
It is a glacier that just goes where it's going to go. It is going to go at a slow pace, and if you're not keeping up, it doesn't matter.
So like, so the movie's called Uncut Gems, but the gem itself is barely featured in the movie, and then after a certain point, it's no longer a part of the movie. So like, I know it's kind of a petty thing to quibble about, but like, you should be naming your movie in such a way that that fits the tone, structure, and content of your film.
It does though. It is the catalyst for his downward spiral on all ends.
I would say it is. The thing I would also agree on is you kind of have to thread together where the Uncut Gems like actual come from. It's at the first part, then he gets it, and then that's where Kevin Garnett's in, and his interaction with Kevin Garnett is why he gets partially into those gambling debts, and then that is what pisses off those gambling debts is what pisses off Arno and the crew.
He was already 100,000 in debt.
The movie starts
because of
with
the
him
gem.
The movie starts with him being in debt to his brother-in-law, and then every scheme he comes up with is an attempt to get out. And that was another fucking annoying thing too. Was every time he had at least $100,000. This was like 3 or 4 times through the movie. He takes it and immediately throws it into gambling. And it's like the worst one is at the hotel where he's in one room and he has his girlfriend in the other room. He finally gets his winnings.
That was his business.
Hmm?
Oh, you're talking about?
Go. You talking about the very end?
No, the mistress that he had. Not mistress.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie, isn't it?
No, that's not.
Not quite.
Which winnings are we talking about then? I guess. Because like that wasn't a hotel that she was staying at that he was renting. That was an apartment he was renting.
I could have sworn it was.
And also the handoff for the big gamble later on, because he gets swept up in his own bullshit, is specifically because they were also renting out the not room, but the area directly next door to where his business
the bathroom was.
Yeah, it was where the bathroom was, and it's coming out the window.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, it's at a place called KMH.
KMH is the jeweler. That is the jewelry store.
Okay, so yeah, I got completely lost then.
I can see where you could see, because the back office basically is an apartment.
Also, to be fair, they don't show the front of the office until like way later in the movie.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is he actually it wasn't a gamble. It was actually he finally sells the thing to Garnet. He gets enough money to pay them off, and then his brother-in-law and his 2 goons arrive. At that point, Sandler leans out the window, throws the bag to his girlfriend, and then with instructions to go place the bed. This takes it's an extremely fast scene, and it fucking sucks because it's just like the 4th or 5th time this dude has done this in this movie. And it's like, no, stop! You're hurting me.
Yeah, it's the part where it is literally as close. They have called Arno in the crew to resolve. He has the bag of money in his hands. He is 10 minutes away from freedom. And this conversation that he has with Kevin Garnett, in which Kevin Garnett is basically, that conversation is him. Kevin Garnett just like, dude, you are really just screwing me over. Like with this, you need to look into you gave those Ethiopian miners like 100,000. You could have given them the winnings from this and given them the million, and that is also coincidentally where the meme line, "This is where I win" comes from. But that's regardless. But yeah, it's him buying into his own bullshit, and then it's the point where you realize, oh shit, this movie isn't over yet.
Yeah. And the movie drags. Go ahead.
I was like, part of it too is he just gets high on his own bullshit, essentially. That he's going off about being the underdog and constantly being treated like shit. Then he just uses it to string into another bet specifically because he is trying to play up this dumb fucking narrative he's built up about himself, but also about Garnett loosely. And he just uses that to go into this giant final gamble with the $160,000 he got off of Garnett, instead of paying it off specifically because he's a dumb piece of shit who's lost in his own addiction, basically.
It's a lot like and one of the reasons why I personally don't like gambling. I don't like gambling because I don't enjoy anything that doesn't have that doesn't let you win by skill. But I also don't like gambling because it can easily draw a person in. We're like, okay, well, I didn't win anything this time. Oh, I won a little. Okay, maybe if I keep playing, I'll win some more. And it kind of is this weird, it creates its own sunken cost fallacy. Because you're just dumping money into it with the hopes that you're going to get that next win. And every time you get that win, you get that nice high. Oh, hell yeah, I won. So, it was frustrating to watch because I've known people like him. Not to that degree, but it's very infuriating watching a person basically almost purposefully sabotage their own life. I don't find that entertaining.
it can cut very real to those who have family members or like friends who have gotten really bad into gambling addiction, which is also why I feel like this movie, the fact that it doesn't bring up like recovery options at all, I feel is also another thing that is not something that it by no means like brings it up, but it is something that's like, oh yeah, no one really, was really supportive, and the fact that no one really was supportive is the reason why this all went down. So something to kind of remember is like, oh, if you see someone in that spiral, that maybe you should be the one to help. I mean, that also could be me reaching, but that's at least something that I thought of.
And the other thing too about it is like, yeah, Sandler's character doesn't make any effort to better himself, and it's also brought up that he's also in a very volatile and abusive environment. Nobody in his life wants him to better himself. Nobody even cares if he makes an effort to better themselves. In fact, if anything, they look for excuses to just not like him and not associate with him or take advantage of him.
To be fair, there's one person who actually treats him well, and he treats her like crap. But otherwise, yeah. And even then, she doesn't discuss trying to get him help.
Yeah. And I think that's largely because everybody has realized he can't be helped. He can't be helped because he himself does not want to be helped. He wants to fail. He wants to fail because by him failing, it justifies his own feelings about himself.
I'd argue it's also he's literally alienated everyone in his life because of this, between the cheating and the gambling. Like even his brother-in-law, who doesn't hate him, is just angry at him because he has screwed him so completely.
Yeah. And it's not like his brother-in-law is like a mafia dude or anything. He's he does have the two thugs that hang around him, but like, I mean, he gave the dude $100,000 to buy a stone, and then every time he gets the $100, he just spends it on gambling again.
Which is why he just at the start of the movie is just pissed and done with him.
Yeah. Also, could have done without the colonoscopy. Really, definitely, absolutely could have done without the.
Oh no, I thought it was pretty good.
It was certainly a choice.
It's a good metaphor for this film being up its own ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I thought it was a pretty alright movie. But yeah, no, it's also a case of like to go back to Kevin Garnett, like from the get-go, also he was not on the level. Like he strong-armed his way into holding on to that gem that Adam Sandler just showed him because he was super excited but didn't want to sell, and even told him, "Hey, I need to have this put up for auction." And repeatedly went over this, and he essentially got ghosted by Kevin Garnett, and also his buddy who wasn't in for Kevin Garnett. And it's just this nonstop string of him trying to get the gem back, and when he finally does, he gets screwed on it, and then screws himself.
Yeah, because like his character is very weak-willed. He is extremely easy to manipulate or strong arm into doing stuff, except when it comes to gambling, because it's such a strong vice for him.
It's also great because it's just this the whole way through. And like speaking of that, it's his mistress who's super into him the whole time. He kind of just treats like crap, despite knowing the situation. Like at one point.
Also, another thing to point out about Julia is the fact that she was originally his employee.
Yep.
Still is.
She still was.
Still
Yeah.
is. Yep.
Yeah, but originally was his employee.
Well, that's like the whole part where he got super jealous about her being in that room at the weekend. She was literally trying to close a deal with him that entire time, and she was deliberately not getting in with him and not sleeping with him and making it a point to tell him to back off. And Adam Sandler threw a shit fit over it.
It's such a relentless film. Just the overlapping conversations happens the entire time. And I'm not exaggerating that either. It's from start to finish, it is just people talking over each other. And at a certain point, it started to feel like fingernails going down the back of my brain. because I couldn't keep up with the conversations, and I also have auditory sensitivities, so it was just like I get anxious, I get like fidgety when crosstalk happens on something like this, where we're all talking to each other, and like two people start talking over each other, and neither wants to budge, so they just keep going.
How fucking dare you?
No, but we have seen that happen now and
Oh,
then.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's exactly that though. But it's 2 fucking hours of people just saying, you know what, I'm gonna talk, they're gonna talk, let's talk together.
It is. That's kind of part of the thing that I kind of appreciate. Like, it is one of the things that I can like appreciate about this movie is that it does like there's almost a craft to how goddamn anxiety inducing this movie is. That it's like the thing, but the thing that I will say, especially about the crosstalk, is that it's done in a way that I guess theoretically, if you watch this movie multiple times, you could like the conversations can be picked up, but when you're first viewing this, there is a lot of things that are just happening at once, and it is done in a way that you can kind of understand everything that's happening, but it's really hard, which is kind of part of the like thing of like how Howie is like constantly having like breakdowns is just due to it's like it's a good way you can see why he is sometimes like that.
As I said, it also lends to the fact that nobody is listening to anyone through that entire film.
No.
Nobody. And so it just lends to that mood of nobody cares what the other is saying, they just want to say what they say.
Yeah, and that also plays into the problems that Adam Sandler's character has, which exacerbates his issues and causes him to continually spiral down. But I will reiterate that I personally don't think Adam Sandler is a good actor. I hesitate to call this like The Room level of bad, but like nothing fit for me. It felt very disjointed, and I did not see Adam Sandler in the role. Like it didn't work for me. I honestly don't know who you could have pulled in to do this movie. I think that it would have been a lot more interesting if it had turned itself into like a taut crime thriller, like an actual crime thriller with chase scenes and explosions and just like some interesting stuff happening, other than this really neurotic, extremely stupid person going around and fucking up his life and the lives of the people around him.
So one thing that apparently was something about the production of this movie, originally the casting for Howard was supposed to be Jonah Hill.
Huh.
That wouldn't have been good.
Huh.
No.
I
Yeah, I would.
I kind of feel like Adam Sandler is pretty much like he is. I personally think that he is perfect for this role. Actually,
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
I mean,
He's a dude who's great at playing screaming assholes, and this was a screaming asshole. So yeah, he was perfect for the job.
I mean, if my two choices are Adam Sandler or Jonah Hill, I'll begrudgingly go to Sandler.
I think also the fact that you don't. I don't think that. I feel like this movie is made better by the fact that it is Adam Sandler, because the fact that I don't think you really like to really get through the real piece of shit that Howie is. I feel like you kind of need that kind of actor. Like if it was like a quality actor who played him, it made him any like at all sympathetic, then I feel like the movie wouldn't be the quality that it is.
Yeah.
But I think it would be better if you had sympathetic characters. If you didn't just have one dimension of character, which is asshole. Like just everybody's an asshole, and I can't stand 2 hours an onslaught of asshole.
Oh, so you're not the target audience for this movie. This is not a story for heroism. This is a story about awful people and failure.
Nobody wins.
I do
Except
kind of
Kevin
feel
Garnett.
like
Kevin
that
Garnett
is
wins.
Yes.
yeah. Well, his career did not go as well, but so
That gem is
no.
cursed.
To reiterate, I do also agree that regardless of what we feel, I do like completely agree that this is a movie that there is a contingent of people that will absolutely despise this movie, obviously, as we're seeing. And I fully agree with that. Like I do not like I don't think that like they are wrong at all. Like obviously, like everyone's like has their own reaction to a movie, and that's perfectly fine. I fully agree with people that will absolutely despise this movie. That being said, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, actually, yeah, I guess. So I'd like to bring up, I guess, talk about the villains of the film for a minute, and which would kind of segue into the ending.
I'd argue less
Because
I guess technically there is one villain, but more
I mean,
antagonist.
well, there's
their level of antagonist.
Yeah.
so yeah, there's technically two. There's Arno and there's Phil. Arno is because like we talked about, like there's no people in this movie that like will like stop Sandler or like really like try to stop his bullshit. Like there's one character, but the problem is that character is Phil. He's the one who has absolutely none of Howard's bullshit. So Phil is one of Arno's henchmen. He's the one who's hassling for most of the film. He's the one who's like beating him up when they're like shaking him down.
Yep.
And so when we get to
He
the
has
part where
a fucking temper. I feel the need to mention that.
yeah, because like another thing to quick mention is that Arno's pissed at Howard, but he still cares about him and to a degree doesn't want him dead. Not Phil. So yeah, we get to like around the end where Sandler hands off the money to his girlfriend and she flies off to a casino to make the bet. And Howard, in its attempt to stop the Arno and Phil from going after her, locks them in his security cage at his jewelry store.
Which is great because that is practically a miracle that even happens.
Yes, and so that just basically pushes Phil past the edge and pulls out a gun, which, you know, again, Howard's character is stupid, so shouldn't have let Phil back in afterwards. But yeah, oh yeah, we didn't even really mention what the final thing was. So yeah, he bets big on Kevin Garnett's like game that's happening that night, where Kevin Garnett is like fondling his magic rock. Yes, give me the skills. And Howard wins the bet and overjoyed and like goes to free Arno and Howard. And the moment he does, Phil just shoots him right in the face.
Yep.
That's the thing is like even though at the very end, Adam Sandler ends up on top, the entire point of that is it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. If you fuck with the wrong people, you're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
And
then Phil shoots Arno too for good measure.
And it bears mentioning that the winning amount was about 1.2 million.
Yeah.
So that would have absolutely paid off his debt and given him like a lot of money to work with. So while I was watching this, I had posted a couple things on Twitter and a bunch of things on the Discord. And one of the things I said was, I will only be happy if Adam Sandler's character gets shot. And when it happened, guess what? I wasn't fucking happy. I was not happy at all.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, like it is a movie where the second it starts, you know how it's going to end, which is Adam Sandler with bullets in his fucking brain. There's no two ways about it. That's how it ends.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wasn't happy about it was because nothing that led up to it was satisfying. So like, it was a lot of tension, a lot of just stress. And because of all that, I couldn't even enjoy the ending of a movie. Even though it played out exactly as I wanted it to, I couldn't take any pleasure in that because the rest of the movie had dragged me down the whole time and just was dunking my head underwater.
It is also incredibly funny to me that it is just an incredibly unceremonious death. It's just gun, bam, and then that's it. Like no like panning shot. It is just the only thing it pans to is just I think Ardo, who's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the soundtrack doesn't even change. The scene just keeps going.
Yeah, this movie loves its really just synth heavy soundtrack.
Yeah. And then his stepbrother tries to stop Phil from ransacking the store, and Phil, in a fit of rage, shoots Arno too, killing both brothers. And the movie basically ends. The movie basically ends with Julia walking out with the money, and then Arno and Howard dead, and then Phil and Nico ransack the store, and then the final shot is an extremely like artsy, super slow pan zoom into the bullet hole, and then there's like peaks and valleys, and then
And we're back in the gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the ending was even less satisfying than the rest of the film.
I kind of actually like the fact that the ending is incredibly unsatisfying and you never get closure. Because I feel like that fits. Because this is about Howie and nobody else and nothing else. It's about this man fucking up and dying.
It's interesting you say it though, because like the ending sort of treats his character as if he didn't matter. Because like we mentioned, his death is extremely unceremonious. It happens instantaneously.
Yeah.
He opens the door, they walk out, he starts to talk to Phil, Phil just pulls the gun, shoots him in the face. It's very quick, very instant, no camera change. Same thing with Arno. He gets just wham, done. And the ending just kind of acts as if Sandler's character didn't have any meaning, didn't have any purpose, was just worthless. At least that's the take that I got from the way it was shot.
As I said, in my case, it's more like it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong or how right you are. If you fuck with the wrong people, you're screwed regardless.
Yeah.
Don't throw
It's
shit in an
true.
armed man.
Yep.
Don't shit where you eat is the ultimate lesson of this film. But yeah, no, I actually I think it's fine that you never get closure on what happens to Julia or anything that happens to the goons or anything like that. I honestly think it's for the best because there's no way they could have actually tied that up satisfyingly.
Nah. I mean, it is what it is. Some people like it, some people don't. You know, it's not really a matter of it's made for me or not. It's a matter of
It's
did I
taste.
like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I understand completely. It's a matter of taste for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did anyone have any last thoughts?
No.
Or do we rip the Band-Aid off?
Please don't fucking make us watch any more Adam Sandler movies.
So the good thing is, so I
We
will
shit
say,
pixels.
I mean, I will avoid watching Pixels as much as humanly possible. Don't you worry. However, I will point out that we are now in Q3 of 2000 or of 21, which means that a new movie is at the 150 tier. That one is also hard to watch, but for a completely different reason, because that one's Hardcore Henry.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, God.
It's definitely not my fault that it's on there.
Oh, God.
At least I don't think that there are any more movies that I could even like think of in this vein, unless we're for some reason just watching Sandler's List now.
Okay, but you have to agree,
Gamer.
Hardcore Henry is a video game ass movie.
It is. I haven't
Yes,
seen
it
it.
is.
I've made no effort to see it because it didn't look interesting to me. But yeah, you know, I would definitely, you know, at some point, yeah, we're gonna when we start branching out. Let me. Well, Carnival. See, the thing is, if you're gonna go see Schindler's List, bring somebody with you to make out with. Thank you for getting my joke.
All right. So we're gonna rank this using our normal 1 to 21 scale with the 3 extras, with 1 being absolute mastercraft, can't get any better, to 21 being absolute garbage, not even with any irony, like, or I should say with very minimal ironic enjoyment to watch, because we do actually have some 21s that some people have gotten enjoyment out of. So I have your numbers from the original. Does anyone want to deviate from theirs?
No.
I stand by mine. I'm
I'm-
not going back.
Very fucking firm with mine.
So there's an 18-point difference,
Don't say.
with Axe going at 20 to 21, DM at 3, and Torpo at 4. So
No.
that's not a reconcilable difference. In
No,
terms of
I-
putting-
It's fine. It's fine. Axe pistols at dawn. Let's do this.
That's like, okay, fine. You don't have to go at 2021, but I vehemently, angrily refuse to allow that hitting a 3 or 4. It is
Pistols
not good. It is not
At
that good.
dawn.
It is not that good.
so
I would meet you in the middle at like 10, 11. 3 or 4, that's for good movies with good casting and good acting.
Well,
so-
where do you fall?
So I wrote mine down at somewhere between 4 and 6. So there's a couple ways we can do this.
Pistols at dawn.
I also do have another thing written down, which is we can investigate the 3 special ones.
No.
No.
Because there is something
Hmm?
there is something I could say about maybe putting it in one of the weird ones, like 69 or 666, because it is a very taxing movie. And I feel like that's something that needs to be very noted, is that this is an incredibly abrasive movie.
Let me see.
I don't really know if it warrants any of the special ones though, because
Yeah, I don't think it's bad is the issue here. So like it wouldn't
Yeah.
fall into 666. It's
Yeah,
well
that's
done
the
for what it
thing.
is. But the problem is this is taste we're talking about.
Yeah,
That is the struggle.
which, I mean,
Is anathema to this shit, but
the other thing is that a second option is, let me pull out the calculator.
oh no. No, that's a bad idea.
no.
That's gonna really fuck up your numbers.
I'm just curious. Okay. And I'm gonna, you know what? Just for funsies, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. Okay. If you do raw average, it's 8. Or
I mean, I will meet you in the. Like I said, I'll meet you in the middle. I'll meet you at 8. I'll totally fine with that.
alternatively, third option, which is probably not the best, is mass, which is we have 3 people at 4, but that's not fun. Let me browse the list real quick, because I would vehemently disagree with this being anything below, I would say 10. But if I look at the list, because yeah, let's just see what is at 8. What is the prior average? Because we got stuff like Area 88, the OVA, got Digimon the movie, Secret of Mama, Roller Games, Sweet Home, and the first season of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I feel like this is an irreconcilable difference here.
Yeah. I would watch it over everything in number 4.
I disagree, but also this is the kind of movie that I will only ever watch once, and I'm okay with that.
This is true. This is very much a watch 'em once.
I would be fine watching again is the thing, so
That is also a 4th option, which is I just make the executive decision.
Bite the bullet, Lola.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, I don't think any of us are actually going to change our minds or shift, and that is the issue here.
That's not true.
No.
I openly said that I would meet in the middle at 8 to 10. I said it multiple times.
I mean, technically, you said you'd meet at the 11, which means you've already shifted.
I also did say after that, when you mentioned that 8 was the
Raw average.
average, that I'd say I would meet you at that as well. So twice I moved.
You know, so I'm looking at my range, which was 4 to 6. Now, if I personally were to go through, we have Jaws at 4. You have Jaws, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Those are all pretty decent movies. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence actually is one that is standing out to me personally.
Yeah, see,
in
that's why
that-
I put it at 4.
Yeah, I honestly would rather watch if I had to say which one I felt I liked more as a total movie. Even like with watching it once, I would say Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is a better movie. Now, if I
I
go down,
agree, and I didn't enjoy that movie that much, but I agree.
now if we go down to 5, Adventures in Moon Valley, GameStar CX, Starcade, and the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie. That one's tougher for me. Starcade is there at 5, which obviously that is something that I really like, though that's personal taste. Also, Moomin Valley. At 6, we got Labyrinth, Mappy, Space Cobra, and Hunt for Red October. Hunt for Red October is standing out as something that Hunt for Red October, Labyrinth, Mappy are 3 things that I would say that Uncut Gems is a better thing to watch. So if I straight up am just going to say executive decision, I would say 5.
All right.
I'm taking a step back.
I am silently protesting, but it is your show, so you make the call.
I don't think I think unless we literally come to boxing gloves, I don't think that this is going to get resolved.
No, that's
And I
kind
think-
of my point.
I think that unfortunately that just means I have to just step in and I have to put it somewhere. And I think 5 is a pretty decent spot for it. Because while I could definitely see it being a bit higher, I could definitely also do want to point out this is very much a movie. If this is not your kind of movie, you will absolutely despise it.
Yeah.
And I don't have an asterisk system because that unfortunately will break Google. Unless I code it in, which I technically could.
I mean, all this shit's subjective, and it's all based on whether or not it's something you're gonna enjoy.
Yeah, it's also the fact that I don't think that this is a good metric, but just just looking at like raw numbers on this, I feel like a majority, like, and I don't want to say majority in like say so that means it's better, but I feel like it's a thing where if I am to present this list to someone as here's my ranking of movies, if you're looking for something, take a look at this. I feel like I would want to err on the side of caution in the fact that it's like, okay, just from pure numbers, it seems like you're more likely going to enjoy this. So in that case, I feel like I should go I feel like having it at a high number is warranted. And I think that is why I am going to put it at 5. Because that's still pretty high there. Judge a little bit puzzled. Resigns. Or not resigns. Whatever the word is.
Like you should almost put like an asterisk next to it, just saying, "Hey,
Well-
Lolo had to pull the trigger."
Court is in recess.
I mean, I can do this. Uncut Gems. Let's see. Is there a gavel emote? Is there a judge emote?
No, I looked. That's why
There's a
hammer.
kangaroo. There is a judge. There. The little judge icon. Which meant that I had to step down and put it somewhere. Okay, let's see.
Lolo putting on his big boy pants.
Let's see. This is episode 81, I think. Yes, this is 81. All right. That was 2019 by Safdie Brothers. This is a theatrical release. This is the genre of this movie is drama.
Boy, howdy is it.
It is a sad movie. Content, I'm going to put a Y there for multiple reasons. One, this is very much a movie that, well, first off, there is a casually dropped R slur, just pointing that right out.
Mm-hmm.
There is also, this is always the fun thing of, there is a lot of particular slurs that are used in this movie that could potentially make you uncomfortable, particularly if you're white. Just pointing that out there.
Damn, I'll never get that N-word pass.
It is not a thing that exists.
Fuck,
Just
no, it isn't.
okay. So, God, I feel like I need more like a label that's just abrasive. Do I have something
It
that just
really is an assault on the senses.
this is like I need something.
That's why I'm so surprised at how high it's going, because it's not a pleasant film.
That's the thing though, is it's not supposed to be, and I guess I can understand the issue.
Unsettling imagery is about as close as we're gonna get.
Yeah.
The
It's
thing I
true.
would
We do have
say-
to see up Adam Sandler's butthole. It's true.
The thing I would say about it being abrasive and why that's something that you'd like it to go high is the fact that sometimes just watching this kind of movie can be kind of cathartic, I guess might be.
Huh?
I think-
Maybe I don't suck quite so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there are tons of people out there who I can just, look up their profiles on Twitter and go, yeah, I don't suck that bad. It doesn't make me spend 2 hours hating myself.
No, yeah, no. I'm not saying that's my reason personally. I just
No, yeah.
this is just like a fucking film based entirely on morbid fascination.
It is. It is very much a watching the train wreck movie, which some people obviously will like, some people will not. And going by pure numbers, apparently a lot of people are masochist or sadist.
I'm a sadist.
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you
Masochist.
ever imply that I'm a masochist?
Masochist
I
is
feel
on self.
offended.
Masochist is on the self, and sadist is on.
Yeah, I always get those backwards.
How dare you ever imply that I'm a masochist, you sick fuck.
Can't
You
believe
do
you're
play
auto.
Genshin.
Yeah, I do. Whatever.
Anyway,
You heard me.
is there anything that we want to call out in music, charm, cinematography,
I'm not sure how to feel about the music. I
storytelling,
thought
action, and art?
the music was a weird one because like it felt almost a little out of place because of the heavy use of synth, which I don't know, felt weird for the movie.
It's very like if you've ever watched a movie that's scored by Tangerine Dream, it's very much that kind of thing. Where it's like,
God.
okay, someone's gonna get stabbed.
All I can add is thumbs down for charm and thumbs down for storytelling.
I would agree with thumbs down for charm because that's the entire point.
Yes, I would also. You know what? Actually, for charm, actually, I was gonna say I was gonna use the scream emote, but we did that for Pac-Man, and I don't want to have those two be the same kind of charm.
No, they're different pieces
Uh,
entirely.
You know what? Where's the sweary emoji? Not like the dude, like that one, the one that's the red face with the censor bar in front of it.
Can't stop thinking about sweary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that was the other thing too. Like, I swear a lot, and Torpid, you swear a lot, and
I swear a
sometimes
fuck ton.
yeah, like, and we can handle each other's company. This movie cursed way too much. There was just too much cursing
To be
for me.
fair, I'd argue part of it too is we swear casually, where this was intense.
Yeah, this
Angry
was.
swearing.
Like, we know when to swear to punctuate our points. The movie was just flippantly going fuckity fuck fuck fuck.
That's
To be fair, I
it's like-
swear a lot. Like
it's like-
I casually swear like a motherfucker.
It's
Yeah.
like the joke that I think it's Lewis Black that was like, you know what? Living in New York has basically made me turn the word into a comma.
Yeah, there's another bit he did where he's like, the word fuck is like water for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I it's a complete. Actually, this is the thing I've mentioned to other people before, but it's like an issue I have with video games is that every time they say fuck, it's like almost too much emphasis on it. Nobody knows how to say fuck casually with the voice acting stuff, and it always actually weirds me out because it never feels natural then.
Yeah, and like in this movie, it's a very robotic. Oh, we've got a bunch of people angry at each other. They're just gonna say fuck back and forth.
You don't get no Edward Carnby in Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
And yeah, to be fair, anytime I've had a shouting match with someone, there's actually not as much swearing as you'd think.
yeah, no.
Trying to think what else. Well, obviously action. There's not art. I wouldn't call art anything.
Or
Story. Go up.
Which column's blue?
Blue is action.
Oh,
Which
That one I would say extremely tense.
actually. Okay, what's that? Okay, what's time to figure out what the emoji is called? Is it Grimace? It is Grimace. Okay, yeah, that one.
Deep purple.
No, that's
Craving my McNuggies.
That's impossible to follow. Extremely tense is the with the blue on the face.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh god, every time I hear
An
the
open
word
mouth.
grimace, I just think of one fucking thing. One goddamn image.
yeah, the Scream one. Okay, that we can use that one for that.
God, I still can't believe you put Fritz the cat as a fucking.
Yeah, give me.
Yeah, seriously, what the fuck?
I couldn't think of any other like really big movie. I mean, we already unlocked the thing for Wizards, which we're gonna do sometime in November.
Judge Dredd with Stallone.
I hate that every time I hear grimace.
You just think of big
Stretch
movies.
Carl Urban.
God damn it.
Why the fuck? What? Oh my god.
Uh,
Why do I put up with you all?
I've
Anyway.
got the brainworms.
Anyway, I can't really think of anything to put for yay. Nay, I can think of a bunch of things.
Everything.
Sure.
Everything.
Namely, there is one that is perfect for this movie. Namely, that everyone's an idiot.
Yeah.
And
I do
what-
want to say,
Will you
actually, I
shut
did like the cinematography.
You know, actually, I
Yeah.
kind of did too.
Do you
So
have a
I'll
w-
give it that.
Do you have a "Won't you shut up" for?
Yes. I think
Okay,
I
yeah.
do.
Throw that in.
Let's see, what do we got for yays? What
Simply
can I go to
fun.
bat for? No, none of these.
No, there are
No.
no
Yeah,
names.
no, there is no
yays.
Literally
charm. There is no
no.
just being cool. It is not made of abundant love.
No, this is a
No.
movie that is meant to be a trial.
Powered by hate.
Trying to find it. You know what? I
Extreme
know
elements
also.
from games.
I would kind of say that what the hell is going on is also a good point for this one.
Mhm.
I was able to follow it just fine. I mean, it only needs two, really, which are "Won't you shut up" and "Everyone is an idiot."
Yeah, you know that works.
It was pretty straightforward, honestly. It was pretty simple to follow. It's just
Oh, actually, dude,
everyone sucked.
I did have one for action that is extremely tense. I forgot that I did that. Also, that's not what I put in there. It almost like I kind of forget that I put some of these things in here.
To be fair, you also just like make ones up on the fly and then never actually add them in.
This is also true. Anyway, I think that's good for Uncut Gems. We did it.
Woo.
We're free. We've slain the beast.
I'm pretty sure that is the most tense movie that we're ever gonna rank.
I'm gonna take this ranking to my fucking grave.
Yeah.
Fucking do it, bitch.
Tron 2.0, except not actually that Tron 2.0.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway.
Oh, God, the next one. Oh.
Wizards?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that
No.
when we get here. Let me get the media Delta thing so I can actually
Just look at the sign up and you'll see it.
All right. So before we move on to discussing what we're doing next, X, is there anything you want to plug?
The Autistic Self Advocacy Network.
All right. DM.
Yes, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/deathmaster780. I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. EST.
All right. Torpo.
Twitch.tv/torpidtypist as usual, and at torpidtypist on Twitter. And I would like to plug the hole in Arno's skull. He didn't deserve this. Actually, he kind of did.
He kind of did.
Yeah, he kind of did.
Also, just realized I don't know
Didn't
what
deserve it as much as Adam Sandler did.
Also, what am I gonna do for the music for this one?
And out of the soundtrack.
Well,
That'd get you in trouble.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So next thing we're taking a look at is very much video game related. This one wasn't a charity thing. This one was a follower actual thing. This, I believe, was I got 375 followers on Twitch. So we are taking a look at the movie version of the comic Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I love this movie that taught a bunch of young men the wrong fucking lesson.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see Michael Cera in his breakout role as soft-spoken white dude.
Let's see, was that actually before or after Arrested Development?
It was after, I'm pretty sure.
It was after. Yeah, no, he was young with Arrested Development.
Yeah. All right.
Juno.
That's
I think Was this after Juno? I thought this was before it.
I was sure it was after Juno.
I don't know. Everything that
Yeah.
Michael Cera's ever fucking done is blended together in my brain because he only plays one goddamn role and never breaks from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2010 for Scott Pilgrim, and it was
2007 for Juno?
2007 for Juno.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the same role in every movie he's ever done.
Yep. All right. Well,
Even in Twin Peaks, he was basically the same
he
role.
was in Twin Peaks.
He was in the last season of Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. All right. Well, with that, I think we're good. So, thank you all for listening.
You're not welcome.
Bye.
If you would like to see the list in which we have ranked every single thing we've done for Media Delta, you can go to r3.ldp.life in your browser. If you would like to watch the sister show that determines what could show up on Media Delta, that's Retro Rank Rhapsody, you can watch it live on Twitch at twitch.tv/lolotapuzlo or on YouTube at youtube.ldp.life. If you would like to discuss this episode with others, please join our Discord server by going to discord.ldp.life in your browser, which should give you a link. Thank you again for listening.